The Israelis don't represent the Jewish communities of the world. They represent Zionism and racism. It must be said here, whoever supports them supports racism.
The Hamas-Israel-South Africa saga is a multifaceted issue that involves the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and South Africa's stance on the matter. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a long-standing dispute over land, borders, and self-determination. It has resulted in several major wars and ongoing tensions between Israelis and Palestinians. The conflict involves various factors, including territorial disputes, security concerns, and differing political aspirations. However, South Africa has shown support for the Palestinian cause and has been critical of Israel's actions in the conflict. The government of South Africa has called for a two-state solution and an immediate end to violence, expressing sympathy with the Palestinian people. Regarding its position on the war, South Africa is divided, with some opposing the government's backing of the Palestinians. Israel declared on Tuesday that it would defend itself against the charges of genocide that South Africa brought forth a week ago. In an 84-page application, South Africa claims that actions and inactions on Israel's part in the Gaza Strip are genocidal. South Africa filed the lawsuit at the International Court of Justice on Friday, December 29, accusing Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and requesting that the court force Israel to stop its bombardment. A spokesman for the Israeli government, Eylon Levy, described the charges as blood libel and said that Israel would refute them in court at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. The head of Hamas Political Bureau expressed gratitude to South Africa for initiating legal proceedings against Israel before the UN's highest court during a live broadcast on Tuesday, January 2. South Africa requested that Israel immediately cease its military operations in Gaza using an interim order from a court located in The Hague. There will probably be a hearing on such a request in the upcoming days or weeks. If the lawsuit proceeds, it may take years, but in the interim, a ruling might be made in a matter of weeks. The military branch of the Hamas launched the deadliest attack in Israel on October 7. Some 1,200 people, mainly civilians, were terminated and hundreds abducted. It led to the latest war in the decades-long Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In Gaza, the Israeli military assault has resulted in more than 20,000 lives lost and exacerbated the humanitarian situation. South Africa has criticized all violations of international law by all parties, including the direct targeting of Israeli civilians and other nationals and hostage-taking by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups. Bear in mind that both Israel and South Africa are parties to the Genocide Convention and members of the United Nations. Since the start of the war on October 7, South Africa has been an outspoken opponent of Israel. Their appeal to the International Court of Justice is only the most recent move in the South African government's arsenal of defenses against Israel's Gaza assaults. According to Article 2 of the Genocide Convention, genocide involves acts committed with the intent to destroy, either in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. As all of this is unfolding, the Israeli army has said that thousands of troops would be leaving Gaza in the upcoming weeks, but it has not stated in the open whether this signifies the start of a new phase of the conflict. However, the action is consistent with the strategies that Israeli officials have laid out for a low-intensity campaign that targets Hamas strongholds and is anticipated to persist for the majority of the year. However, there was still intense fighting in Gaza's south and center on Tuesday. Over 85% of Gaza's 2.3 million residents have been forced from their homes, and the majority of them have fled to the southern section of the small territory. More than 21,900 Palestinians, two-thirds of them women and children, have been terminated since the start of the war, according to the health ministry in Hamas-run Gaza, which doesn't differentiate between civilians and combatants among the dead. Amidst all these attacks, it was reported that senior Hamas official Salah al-Arori was terminated by an Israeli drone strike on Hamas offices in the outskirts of Beirut on Tuesday night. Arori was a prominent member of the Hamas Political Bureau and a founding member of the organization's armed branch, the Qassam Brigades, which executed the lethal surprise attack on Israeli soil on October 7. As part of its Rewards for Justice program, the United States offered $5 million for information on him last year. Although the Israeli military chose not to comment on the story, such an attack would be consistent with Jerusalem's declared goal of eliminating important Hamas figures as the 3-month conflict in Gaza draws to a close. In a statement, Hezbollah said, "This crime will not go unanswered or unpunished," calling it a dangerous development in the course of the war. Hezbollah, which is a U.S.-designated terrorist organization, has been launching attacks on Israel since the war against Hamas began in October. The Israeli military also said that it has resumed bombings in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah terrorists, who have been Hamas allies and have engaged Israeli forces in cross-border gunfire during the Gaza war. Israel has warned that a full-scale conflict with Lebanon is imminent if Hezbollah does not yield. Iran supports both Hezbollah and Hamas, and its militant partners in Yemen, Syria, and Iraq have also begun attacking Israel at a greater range. One big concern that is still unanswered in the midst of the battle is how the Palestinian enclave on the West Bank and Gaza will be administered in the aftermath of the war. In a televised speech on Tuesday, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh stated that he is amenable to a single Palestinian government overseeing both the Israeli-occupied West Bank, where the Palestinian Authority oversees certain government functions, and the war-torn Gaza, which has been run by Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu opposes Haniyeh's position, which is similar to that of the United States, and advocates for the Palestinian Authority to eventually take control of Gaza and the West Bank. The Israeli Prime Minister stated that the Jewish state had to be in charge of overall security in Gaza following the conflict, although he did not specify what that meant. Although the U.S. has insisted that Palestinians must be included in any post-war government, it is still unclear what the internationally recognized Palestinian Authority will do in the future. In recent years, U.S. interest in ending the conflict has decreased. Following the commencement of the Arab Spring upheavals in 2011, the United States faced greater direct challenges to its interests due to the ongoing conflicts in Syria and Yemen, Iran's aggressive efforts to assert its influence in the region, and terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and the self-declared Islamic State. The conflict is becoming even less of a concern because U.S. relations with Iran and the Arab Gulf states do not appear to be dependent on Israeli-Palestinian conflicts. As President Biden gears up for the November 2024 election with polls showing most Americans disapproving of his handling of Gaza, he is keen to avoid a broader war. Privately, the Biden administration has been urging Israelis for restraint in Lebanon. Regarding Gaza, the United States has been pleading with Israel to go to a more surgical and constrained stage of the conflict in a way that is becoming more and more visible. On the other hand, Israeli attacks have become more frequent. Its airstrikes have killed hundreds of Palestinians since Christmas Eve, many of them in refugee camps. The Netherlands, Germany, France, and Saudi Arabia have also condemned Israel's calls for the forced migration of Palestinians. Things continue getting serious as the days pass. The Israeli army has taken Palestinian children hostage and moved them outside of the Gaza Strip as part of its ongoing genocide against Gazans. Israel was urged by the rights organization to give the kids back to their parents. Euromed Human Rights Monitor expressed alarm over the kidnapping of children and the mysterious disappearance of many Palestinian detainees from the Strip, stressing that the international community must carry out its responsibility and put pressure on Israel to ensure their safe return. Just as there are diverse opinions within any society, Israelis have a range of perspectives on the conflicts. Some Israelis strongly support the Israeli government's actions and policies, emphasizing the need for security and self-defense in the face of threats. On the other hand, there are Israelis who advocate for a peaceful resolution to the conflicts, emphasizing the importance of dialogue, negotiations, and compromise. They criticize certain Israeli government policies or actions, calling for an end to the occupation and the establishment of a Palestinian state alongside Israel. These individuals express concern for the well-being of both Israelis and Palestinians and seek a just and lasting solution to the conflicts. As with any conflict, misinformation and false narratives are circulating online. This has exacerbated opinion polarization and impeded fruitful discussion. Both domestically and internationally, groups and people endeavor to dispel falsehoods and offer factual information regarding the conflicts. Resources and fact-checking campaigns are available to help refute untrue statements and advance a better knowledge of the circumstances. We have come to the end of this video. How do you think Israel would defend itself against the genocide accusations filed by South Africa at the International Court of Justice? Let us know what you think in the comments. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.